everyone. If you're joining me today, my name is Gina. I'm a nurse practitioner, psych nurse practitioner specifically. On my channel, I talk about anything and everything concerning mental health care and self-improvement videos. Last year, I did a video on back to school, and back to school, believe it or not, is upon us again. Wherever you find yourself in the world while you tune into this video, obviously you tune in because you're trying to find help for your family, for your kiddos. Most places in the world, whether you're from where I'm located or somewhere outside of the US, most kiddos go back to school August, September anyways, because I remember when I was back home in Ghana, in Africa, we went to school. Might not be the same exact week or day, but around that same time to start the semester. So it can be very daunting and overwhelming over time, especially being in this space and having to deal with a lot of kiddos within my practice or other practices that I've seen kids, basically, the practices where I've seen only kiddos, especially kids who might have had trauma history. I might be speaking to a family that have adopted kids, or I might be speaking to a family that have foster children, or family that have regular biological kids, or looking after kids from parents that might have passed on, or families that have separated, families that might have gone through a divorce. Even that lays an extra layer of discomfort, not just for the parent, but for the kids as well. Discomfort in relation to provoking anxiety. So especially those kids who might have to, parents who might have to, who are separated, and the kids have to go from house to house. They have a schedule. They're here for 2-3 days, and they're with a mom another few other days, and back to school thrown in a mist can just be painful. So in regard to that, kids crave predictability. That would be my first point. So kids sometimes might lash out or act out. And when a kid starts to lash out or behave differently from their baseline, a lot of times is because they're getting anxious, they are fearful of something. And as a parent, trying to sit with them, sit through it with them, inquire, or insist on knowing what's going down with them at the back end of things. Maybe they're fearful going back to school because maybe they are being bullied. It could be some bullying with kiddos might not be obvious, right? Some bullying might be obvious where maybe another kid is hitting or verbally being aggressive towards another kid. And it's obvious to the teacher or to the environment, but there are some kids that are being bullied in a very subtle ways, bullying online, bullying through text messages, bullying through cliques with friendships, especially when you have kids that are in, later elementary, middle school, not, high schools can be very prevalent there as well. I think a lot of time, maybe middle school too. I'm just speaking with the fact that I have a middle schooler who's getting ready to go to high school. And sometimes some of the friendships can kind of leave you questioning, especially as a parent. So predictability is very important. So setting the stage for that, one of the things that I recommend through my research that I have found that can work is before back to school starts, to start easing them into going to bed at a certain time to get them ready for that predictable time they need to wake up at to go to the bus or to get to school on time and all that good stuff. So it doesn't leave you as a parent feeling frazzled. So predictability in that sense require maybe having some type of a huddle, right? A huddle. I made a video one time where I said, running your family can be like running a business. So having a huddle before school start to kind of tease out what the plan will be, to kind of get a feel for what your kiddos might be feeling or anticipating or fear. As adults, we have our own fears. Children are just similar to us. I believe that children feel the same things, anxieties, restlessness that we feel, but sometimes they don't have the wording to put to it. So as a parent or an enlightened parent, where we are now having that mentality of my way or no other way, you are being bad, you're being terrible, stay down, hush it, what's wrong with you? Just listen to me, my way. And you're not giving them a safe space for them to express what could be at the core of them, dismissing them, not really valuing their input. Through the huddle, kids will feel valued. They'll feel, oh, there's some sense of plan, there's a sense of predictability coming up. Mommy and daddy values us, and you're setting the stage to create or build good citizens in the future, right? So they know this even for themselves when they grow up to do it. So predictability is very important. So one of the ways is to start doing a huddle, have a list for back to school shopping from each kid, especially if your kids are at age where they can actually contribute to what they need. And then having a negotiation. I believe in negotiation, even with kiddos. Raising kids, especially in this part of the world, or period, just raising kids in this age with social media, with the internet and all that stuff, peer pressure is a whole different level. So you as a parent really be mindful to incorporate some type of negotiation with your kids, especially kids that are starting to get older, 10, 11, 12 and above. Negotiate with them. Find a middle ground. A kid brings you a list, it might be too much. Really, hey, maybe the Jordan 4s come before Christmas, or maybe you gotta earn it. Maybe if you do this number of, work at home, assigned if you do this number of assigned chores that you have on your list on a timely basis without your parent having to cue you in, then you earn your Jordan 4s on your birthday or for Christmas and things like that. So they will feel valued, they feel heard. The ultimate in life, what I found is just to feel that somebody hears you, somebody values you, and that translates into I matter, I am loved. But even as a parent, when you're very dismissive, and especially a parent who might have a history of trauma, and you're already anxious, or you have a lot of stresses going on, financially you're struggling. I've been there, and it's a balancing act. And when you're a parent, you're already fearful, and the kid is bringing the list with all this stuff. I want Apple laptop, AirPods. I want the newest phone to go back to school. I want Jordan 4s. I want Nike shirts, all this stuff. You have that brand name. So some of this stuff shows your kids that it's not only just even about the brand name. It's about being valued, about the love. A lot of kids will shed that layer of having to prove themselves a certain way to their peers. When at home, they feel grounded. When at home, they feel valued, they feel loved, they feel their voice are heard. You can see that even when you're talking to your kiddos, they might not push back so much in regards to getting certain things, because when they don't feel loved, the only way they feel like they can be seen is to maybe have some of this brand stuff so they can now feel like they fit in, or they can feel like they are valued in their circle or some of the kiddos, the circles, sometimes they have to have certain things in order to be allowed into the circle. Yeah, we all been in middle school before. We all been in high school before. We all been in college and things like that before. Even as adults, there's such things as like cliques and competition and looking at who has this or who has that. It just leaves it to be a very toxic trend. So making a list, inciting predictability by having huddles, organizing. So after you have the list, you negotiated, you've gone shopping, now organizing an area for homework, right? If it is your dining, for me, it's my dining table area. I start to push everything aside, clear it, set a place for have all their pencils there, crayons, erasers for homework time, folders, all of that stuff is there. One of the other things that I mentioned, especially with young kiddos, making sure that everything is accessible, like they don't have to try to reach so far and risk falling, all that stuff. So kind of all kinds of stuff. This need to be a step still for them. It will be good for that to happen, so they can reach their crayons, they can reach their erasers, they can reach their working surface easily without constantly calling, Mommy, I need this. And on it's dinner time, you're preparing dinner, it's homework time, they're calling you, you're frazzled. Then that leads to, oh my God, you're yelling, screaming, the whole house is disrupted, homework is not done on time, bedtime get later. You have zero tolerance for that. You are like at the end of your at the end of your emotions, so to speak, with the kids, because it takes a lot of energy to deal with kids. If you have 2, you have 3, you have 4, and on kids. Hands down, this organization is a no-brainer. So you've done the shopping, you try your best to stay organized, labeling all the kids' folders, crayons, so they're not fighting over everybody's crayons. It's here, hey, this is Joe's, this is Abigail's crayons. This is whatever name, Stacy's crayons or pencils. Everything is organized. So during the homework time, parents are not frazzled. Everything is there for them. So not to ramble on. One of the other things that I also found to be really helpful during back to school and getting kids going on time to the bus and tuning into predictability is laying out clothes for the week, for the 5 days. I used to do it where it's like you really are clothes the night before, but what I find is that taps into going to shower on time or going to ease into bedtime, reading time, and all that stuff. I don't listen. Reading time, yes, I try to personally do it, but it's not every night. I try to do it every other night. So it's not like you're a helicopter parent, like this has to be done. If it's not done and things are running late, you got to give yourself some grace. So I lay clothes for the week ahead for 5 days, right? So Monday, Tuesday, all the clothes are laid out: shirts, underwear, short skirts, pants, socks, shoes, backpack is at the door. So creating like a foyer where the backpack is there, packed for the day ahead, everything they need. It's not now they're scrambling. Yeah, I forgot my music instrument. No, it's all right there by the door. So we're escaping through the door. Everybody picks it up and they zoom out. You have your clothes for the week ahead. Even if there's adjustments, they can do it quickly. But when it's picked out, literally from headbands, my daughter at one point was so fixated on different color headbands to match her outfits. Listen, I wish the public school system had uniforms. What I made some of us parents, our lives easier, but it's not so you just kind of flow with it. So from, like I said, from headbands, glasses, contacts, earrings. If you're gonna do makeup, like I told my daughter, sometimes some of the kids, listen, believe it or not, depending on what part of the world, some of these kiddos, middle school, high school, they do some type of makeup before they go. They might put a lip gloss on or mascara. Allow these kids to start building self-esteem, especially as girls, right? So like preventing that, oh no, you don't need to be doing that. All you gotta do is to go and learn your. These are things that set a stage, young ladies, as you get into adulthood, to have a setting feeling, towards our own selves. So flexibility, giving grace, allowing it. So if that's the case and your daughter needs to do that, one of the ways that I recommend is to have them get up a few minutes ahead of the set bedtime time for the family. So if it's 6 a.m., then they need to wake up at 5:45. And that has to be agreed upon and discussed ahead of time with the kiddo, because they're old enough to now understand negotiation. So if you're not holding your end of the bargain after 3 strikes, then that's it. So we take that out. So giving them that time. So like I said, makeup, lip gloss, underwear, bra, sports bras, change of clothes at school if they need to, because they have physical education, shoes, socks, all of that stuff is picked out, laid out for the 5 days a week. Everything is ironed ahead of time, ready to go. And incorporating your kids in that helps. You're not the one running around doing it, cleaning their rooms. Oh no, you have a 10, 11-year-old, oh no. Even my kids from age 4, 5, they have their chores. You start easing them into it. Little soldiers, you work on them being accountable. It helps, so they have that predictability. And then accountability for themselves. So it's not always on the parents, like they're yelling at you, "Mommy, I need this. I can't find this." You're organized all day. Another big thing is, besides clothes, organize snacks ahead of time. So planning on the weekends, get snacks that the kiddos might need for school. If they eat lunch, bring lunch from home to school, get that organized in bowls. Amazon has all those stuff. I link some of them in the description, but organizing those snacks, those lunches ahead of time, even planning for school, what kind of lunches they have, looking at the menu. On Thursday, they don't like the lunch at school, then they can take lunch from home. So the week ahead is always planned, at least to the best of ability. It might not be perfect all the time, but at least to some degree. That, and then the other thing is, create an environment for your kids to come and talk to, especially the first few weeks of school and even onwards, where you have the open door policy. Your kiddos can come to you and talk. You're not being dismissive. You're not being like they're not there, like especially after school, where they kind of have to debrief or feel like they had a pretty intense, stressful day at school. And you as a parent, at least the first few hours of home, setting it up where you're like, hey, give mommy or daddy a few minutes to kind of decompress. And then maybe at 7 o'clock after dinner, when nerves are calm, then we can talk about school stuff, what happened and stuff. Of course, if there are emergencies before that time and they need to talk about it, of course, it's fine and welcome. But when you are a parent, you're home, you're focusing on dinner, you had a tough day at school with your boss, and you're already like in your dysregulated state. So really knowing how to get yourself centered so that when your kid also had a tough day at school, they can come to you and not feel like they're being pushed away. Can be tough, especially when things are happening. Easier said than that. So really try the best you can to have that open door policy, create that safe space for your kiddos to be able to come to you, because otherwise your kid will be talking to their peers and you lose out on being able to be there down the line. 10 years, 20 years down the line, you look back and say, oh God, I had missed out on being available emotionally for my kiddos. So not being on the phone. One of the things that I have found that be helpful when I get home, transition from work to home, phone goes on do not disturb. I don't entertain calls. I don't entertain text messages. I turn off the alarm. So it doesn't feel like even after work, you're ding, 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 ding. Of course, I can always get back to people. If it's not an emergency, if it's an emergency, call 211 or 911. I'm not your 911. But preserving your mental health, so your mental state doesn't impact your kiddos, is very crucial. You're not going to be a perfect parent. Hear me say that. You're not going to be a perfect parent. Parenting doesn't come with a book. There are things you're going to always go back and years down the line say, hey, you have some shortfalls, fine. But those shortfalls, as much as you can, to not scar the kiddos is so important. And being present, safe parent, enlightened parent. So really listening into yourself, getting therapy, working on your own dysregulation, working on your own anger issues, your own traumas, your own unresolved issues. So you're not repeating generational traumas on your kids. So even as we think about back to school, these are some of the ways that I want to bring to your attention. I'm looking at my point to make sure I didn't forget anything. So these are the few things that I wanted to bring to stay organized, to have that predictability, to have that safe space for your kiddos, and to make the school year ahead better than the year before. I hopefully be able to put it out of bed. And one of the things that we struggle in our home is waking up in the mornings. So, we've been considering something like a whistle. So I'm constantly like setting the Alexa to wake up the kids. So Alexa goes off through the house at 6 a.m. So all the rooms have it and they hear it. It's already set. Setting Alexa for bedtime. This also can be helpful. I found that to be very helpful. So 8:30, the alarm goes off throughout the house. The kiddos knows, okay, this is the time. It's going to start to wind down. So you're not, as a parent, yelling, you need to brush your teeth. You need to go to bed. Even washing up, I try to set a timer for 10, 15 minutes, even less, right? So one of the eye-opening things, my daughter went to a camp where shower time, she was like, 3 minutes, mommy, 3 minutes. I said, yeah, you see, don't be in the shower for 30 minutes or an hour. That's no. 10 minutes, 15 minutes is enough, because as you found in camp, you only need 3 minutes to finish the wash up that you need for the day. So setting Alexa to set an alarm for wake up time, set an alarm for bedtime. And I also set an alarm for wash up time so it doesn't bubble over to bedtime, can be helpful. So I wanted to incorporate that, because as technology advances, we can use technology to our benefit. So setting those alarms ahead of time where Alexa can remind you, can set those alarms automatically, so you're constantly doing that. Just like in business where things are just kind of automated, it helps to preserve your mental health as a parent and preserve the kids' mental health as well. And they, as they grow, can incorporate some of this stuff into their lives. Easier said than done, but doable. You might not have it perfect all day long, but at least you're trying it. All right, catch you at the next video.